Good morning, Jalen. How's morale?
It is such a pleasure to be on with one of the people that I looked up to in this industry. In particular, when I first got to ESPN, there was a handful of people: Bob Lee, Chris Berman, Stuart Scott, obviously Keith Olbermann, and one Dan Patrick, who I continue to look up to and I consider mentors in this industry. It's a pleasure to be on.
I tell the story, I've told it a couple of times here, that a lot of people come through the mothership, and a lot of people think they know how to do this, whether it's an ex-athlete or an ex-coach. You're one of the handful that said, can I call you? Can I ask you questions? I want to be great at this. And I'm not surprised at your success. And I just wanted to acknowledge that to you, that it did stay with me, that you did ask for help and not going in and saying, hey, I got it all figured out here. You just put on a tie and you go talk. So it's a credit to you of wanting to be great.
Much appreciated, and thank you kindly for being an open book.
All right, let's dive into this. Why do the Warriors have to be villains during this NBA Finals for some reason?
The Warriors don't have to be villains. It's just that we cater to storylines, and they're the favorite. So usually when you're David in a scenario like LeBron has been in the playoffs, and in particular in the NBA Finals, where he's come in and been the underdog 6 of the 8 times he's been in the finals, and you're going against a Golden State Warriors team who won 73 games last year, lost in Game 7 on their home floor, and then had the nerve, this is what makes them the villain, to add Kevin Durant to the team?
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness. How can they do such a thing? It's so bad for the NBA. What is happening to the league? We can now project the 2 teams that are going to make it to the NBA Finals. For those that have not been paying attention to the league for the last 71 years, there have always been super teams in the NBA. Now we have possibly a new era version of what we saw in the 80s with Lakers and Celtics.
Yeah, did anybody say that was bad for basketball, that it was Bird and Magic going head-to-head?
I didn't say it was bad. Oh, my goodness. I was in the backyard at the park. I'm old enough to play on the milk crate and cut a hole in the bottom when it was hanging from a telephone pole. That was the glory days. So, absolutely. When you have 7 All-Stars in one NBA Finals, the last time that happened was in the early 80s when it was Lakers and Philadelphia.
But also, there was no criticism when the Bulls kept going back to the finals, Jalen.
No criticism at all. And how they continue to tinker to their roster. You add Brian Williams, you'll add Dennis Rodman, you'll add Steve Kerr and John Paxson after you lose B.J. Armstrong. You continue to try to do what you can to make your roster and your team better. And, again, look, the Celtics have 17 championships. The Lakers have 16. That's about 45, 46% of all of the championships in NBA history. The Bulls draft Michael Jordan. They get 6. Tim Duncan gets 5 with the San Antonio Spurs. Kobe gets 5 with the Los Angeles Lakers, and that's pretty much the landscape of how we saw dynasties transpire over the history of the NBA.
Do you follow the same philosophy as Charles Barkley, that he's saying that his top 5 is in accordance to winning championships, even though he puts Oscar in there, who won 1? Does it come down to greatness is only defined by the number of championships you have?
It cannot be. You can't say that in one statement and then not say Bill Russell's the greatest of all time.
Yeah.
Because he has almost 2 times more championships than Michael Jordan. But I do have a Mount Rushmore when you're trying to separate the all-time greats, and obviously one way to do it is to quantify the number of championships they have, because everybody, when you get to that level, is going to have amazing statistics and all NBA and all-stars. Here's my Mount Rushmore. We just mentioned Russell. 11 championships, 13 years. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, 6 MVPs, 6 championships. By the way, trademark Skyhook. Why is he not talked about being the greatest of all time? He won 4 championships in high school and 3 in college. Another subject for another day. Magic Johnson, the only 6'9" point guard we've seen in the league. Jump center as a rookie, had 40-plus points, won 5 total championships with the Los Angeles Lakers. And Michael Air Jeffrey Jordan, 6 championships, 6 finals MVPs. So a lot of people look to force the conversation, can LeBron get in the pantheon of Michael Jordan? I'm like, wait a minute, he got to pass through some other people first. He can't just get to MJ just yet. He's sitting on the throne. It's like a chessboard. He got to go through the rooks and the pawns. There's other pieces on the board before you start putting them in the conversation with MJ.
He's Jalen Rose from the Mothership, joining us, Dan Patrick Show. But I do think he ends up as a top 5 player of all time. Why don't people beloved LeBron?
LeBron is beloved, Dan. I just think there's a narrative. LeBron is beloved. He has an opportunity. Just think about this. LeBron James is currently playing in the NBA. He basically is a partner in a management company that is very successful that represents teammates that he plays with. He's a global ambassador and a brand, has a chance to be a billion-dollar athlete. And, yes, he has been a guy that's been in the spotlight since high school, has done a terrific job of exceeding the hype. But LeBron James, when we talk about popular athletes and beloved athletes, he will rank near the top.
Yeah, I hope he does. But, then there's a part of him that I think a lot of these guys, when Ali died, I think a lot of today's athletes didn't understand what Muhammad Ali was really all about. They got a refresher when he died. So whether it was LeBron and Chris Paul and Dwayne Wade at the ESPYs, Colin Kaepernick, and then you see what happened with LeBron yesterday. I don't know what that does to LeBron. I don't know if it has residual effects when he goes into this game tonight. I have no idea. I don't know if you can even put it in perspective of you live in a beautiful neighborhood in Brentwood and somebody, puts racist graffiti on your gate. He's not home, and then you have a press conference prior to the biggest NBA finals of your life. I don't know how it doesn't have a little bit of some kind of fallout. What do you think?
Well, the fallout happens when you realize that when you're black in America sometimes and or a minority that you may have to be just as disciplined and or work 2 times as hard for an equal opportunity. And that's something that I understand. That's something I know that LeBron James understands. He not only prides himself on being a terrific athlete, but a family man. We've seen him be a son. We've seen him be a dad and a husband for public consumption. We've seen him be an entrepreneur, handle himself exquisitely in all situations. But it also shows that because you have a $20 million home, it doesn't allow you to escape the hatred, the racist overtone that individuals can carry towards somebody that has your skin tone that has nothing to do with your attitude, because he continues to be somebody that represents himself in a pristine way. It's unfortunate that it happened. I'm, to be honest with you, not upset that it happened. I'm not standing on the table about it happening at all, because what I'm happy that it's doing is allowing us to actually have this conversation of why almost 50 years later from the actual Ali Summit, as you alluded to Muhammad Ali. And again, for our show, Jalen and Jacoby, I don't need Colin Kaepernick's situation to happen for him to kneel, or the LeBron James situation happen to be vandalized, for me to have that picture hanging on the wall, for me to have Tommy Smith and John Carlos in the Olympics in the late 60s hanging on the wall, because these represent constant reminders that we've come so far, but clearly we still have so much further to go.
We're talking to Jalen Rose from the Mothership, ABC's NBA Countdown pregame, halftime coverage throughout the NBA Finals. Is there a conversation you had when you played with somebody that you never got to finish? Was there a smack talk that kind of continued and then somebody got the last? I can't imagine somebody getting the last word on you, but did somebody get the last word, smack talk?
No, I don't remember somebody getting the last word. I mean, as a kid, that everybody saw as a member of the 5'5", skinny, gangly kid from the inner city with the long shorts, running with my 5'5" teammates. Had terrible teeth. I had horrible skin. One thing I did do is be able to talk a lot. So I tried to get the last word in most situations.
Who was a rival, though, with that?
A rival for the NBA, I wouldn't say they were necessarily rivals, but there were people that talked trash a lot more. Gary Payton in particular, who's a friend of mine.
Yeah.
The one thing about Gary is trash talk usually is something that is fun-loving. You're talking about your game. You're talking about what you can't do and what you can't get accomplished and why I'm so much better than you. When I'm on the floor with Gary Payton in the league, it's volatile. I'm looking around like, are we in an alley somewhere? Wait a minute, are we on some sort of jailhouse yard or something? This dude had a level of anger and violence with his trash talk that I'd never been exposed to. But on a basketball floor, in the professional ranks in particular, these are the things you clearly hear in street ball, and I grew up playing in the public school league, so it wasn't foreign to me, but he's the person in particular that stands out with that.
But you didn't do Jordan or anything like that, did you?
At the point where, so playing for the Pacers, we played against the Bulls. They beat us in 7 games. In 1998, people remember I'm crossing over Byron Russell and making the jump shot. People forget that we were actually the team they beat in the Eastern Conference Championship.
Yep.
And in the 7th game in the second quarter, we were actually up like 15. And so they came back and clearly beat us. But I was, just like the rest of the league, not in a position to be jumping up and talking trash to Michael Jordan as a Bull. Now, however, when Superman went to Washington and he became Clark Kent somewhat, that was my opportunity to talk a little trash to the great.
Really? Now, what did you say to Jordan when he was a Wizard?
Oh, just talk a little trash to him. Like, it's easier to get your shot off. You don't have, you don't have this guy that's the greatest of all time that has an opportunity to the guy that we see score 63 in Boston Garden as a youngster and put up so many great memories in NBA history. It looks a little different as a member of the Wizard, as a member of the Wizards. So it was your opportunity to get an all-time great back. But again, one of the great things about him, final season, 40 years old. Play all 82 games.
More explosive scorer, Kobe or Mike?
Mike.
Who would you rather guard? Who would you rather guard?
Well, I have to say Kobe because I was standing there watching them get 81 points. Remember the Toronto Raptors? But I guess I'm not much of a test study. I was standing there watching LeBron James have his career-high 55, too.
Is that a coincidence, Jalen, that you're on the floor when these guys put up career numbers?
It's a coincidence or maybe a trend. But I tell you what, it was the same team. So that team didn't make the playoffs, and we weren't a good defensive squad, so it probably says what they should have been doing. Look at it like this. If those guys, if Kobe Bryant could score 80, if I could score 40 in the game, Kobe better be able to score 80 in the game.
When did you realize he was going to put up a big number?
Well, during that year, if you look back at like a couple of years that transpired, Kobe had those insane scoring barrages where he was scoring like 40 consistently, popping up in the 50, pop up to 60. The best scoring output that Kobe actually ever had. And by the way, how about a guy in his final game having 60 points?
I know.
That's just amazing. 10 years after he scored 81. But here's the thing. There was a game against the Mavs where he had like 60 in 3 quarters,
yep.
And that team won the Western Conference that year. Like, we were a lottery bound team. He was supposed to put the smack down against us.
Oh, man. Does that come up in conversation when you see Kobe?
Of course it does. I'm his caddy. He loves me. Hey, let him through. This Jalen, let him through. Open the velvet ropes and everything.
Hey, keep stirring it up. Congratulations on the Michigan Sports Hall of Fame as well, coming up in September.
Thanks for the love. I appreciate everything, and don't hesitate to reach out if you ever want to have me back on.
I'd love to. Don't be a stranger. Thank you, Jalen.
You got it. Have a good one.
That's Jalen Rose, Mothership.
The Dan Patrick Show, weekday mornings on Audience.